good. I've run the test, and I know that it can fail. If you write the test and write the code at the same time and you get it right first, like you nail the green light, don't cheer. Go back and break it. You need to see it be wrong to prove that it can break, because it's possible to write tests that cannot fail. And those are just extra green lights that don't actually tell you anything. This is why they call it red, green, refactor. Or if you're colorblind, gray, gray, refactor. So dinner repository, find upcoming dinners. And then limit is cool, because we're going to say if limit, because it's nullable, has value. So if it doesn't have a value, then I'll just make it 40 for now. And var dinners equals from dinner in dinners, from dinner in dinners, and then order by. And I want to make, I think a popular dinner would be, from a nerd perspective, would be if anyone came. That would be my sense of success. This needs to be var dinners, and this needs to be some more dinners. I don't know at this point. Popular. So this is popular. Order by dinner.rsvps.count. Yes. So success in this case is showing up, descending. Now, this is interesting because I have these dinners. These dinners are the model style dinners, right? This is the real linked to SQL object that came back. This was generated by my little ORM here. I'm going to instead say select JSON dinner from dinner. I'm going to call that method. I'm going to pass in my dinner. So that's what's going to get returned. So I'll say return. And this is cool. Instead of saying return view, I'll say return JSON. And I can pass in this data. So I can take my popular dinners, and we'll take just the limit, right? We're just going to take the first 40 and pass those in. We'll make those a list. Okay, so now I've got a method that will do that. Let's run that. Okay, so find the dinners. If there was no limit passed in, we'll make it 40. Grab the dinners, and if anyone's coming, sort by the most popular one first. Grab the first 40 ones and return them. And then I'm going to make sure that it is that number, because I've got more than 40 dinners. I want to see just 40 come back. And then it passed. Okay? Does that make sense? So we went into, we're conceived of something. We haven't actually done it yet. This is the other thing about test-driven development, because you're ready to, like, let's go to lunch. We just wrote the test. We actually have to call the JavaScript too and make that happen. So in this case, we've passed the test. We've proven that it at least behaves like that. And then in this case, I might go and write more tests. I might write probably 3 or 4 more tests, because in this case, I've proven that I can pass in no limit. I probably need another one where I pass in various limits, some edge cases, pass in 0. I want to see a couple of things break before I feel really good about that. Now, I want to make this available, though, and have someone pass it in. So I'm going to say that I'm going to accept verbs, HTTP verbs post. People are going to use post, and they're going to call this method with JSON. Back over in here, let's find our nerd dinner.js. I wrote a little find most popular dinners. So there's a bunch of different ways to call AJAX, but I really like this jQuery way, and there's a couple different methods actually in jQuery. But here I'm just saying post, and then remember that the default route, well, that's going to work great for us here. We've got a search controller, and we've got a get most popular dinners method. So I'll say /search /get most popular dinners, right? That's that route. Passing in limit, we're going to be posting that information, so I'm not going to be including it in the URL. And then I've got a callback there called render dinners. This is a client-side callback, so remember, this is happening on the client side. Render dinners is an interesting one, and again, I'm still learning, but I think this is kind of interesting. Basically, it takes that div on the top. Let's read this from the top to the bottom. So 123 says, empty that div on the right. Right? That's that one that's empty already. There could be stuff in there. Clear the map, and then look at the each on line 127. For each dinner in this dinners, and this is interesting because this is JavaScript. I don't have like a defined version of the dinner somewhere over there. This is a dynamic language. When I said return JSON, MVC is automatically using the JSON serializer to serialize that and move it across the wire as curly braces. And because JavaScript is a dynamic language, it's going to automatically make an object that looks like whatever came back, the shape of whatever came back. I said that JSON dinners would have titles and IDs and dates. So this is the first time we've been talking about dinner and dinners. There's no like header file somewhere that describes dinners. This is a virtual Earth thing, VE. So they're saying, hey, go get a latitude and longitude of this particular dinner. I'm going to go and load the pin on the map, called load pin. And this is kind of wacky. I just did it because it was wacky, where we're going to take that dinner list on the right-hand side there, and then this is a big Fluent interface that you can use to build HTML dynamically. There's lots of different ways I could have done this, and I'll show you another way in a little bit. I could have had a little mini view and return the HTML from that view. So the server side would generate the HTML for that right-hand side. I'd take that HTML, transmit it across the wire, and then slap it in there. And that's totally valid, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I want to show that there's many, many ways to do that depending on what you need. If I had other analytics that needed to work on dinners, this is nice because now I've got a dinner object in memory, and I can do other work on that, as opposed to retrieving a view. So you can move multiple things across the wire. And typically when people say AJAX, that includes bringing views of HTML across the wire. So here I'm just saying, hey, take that list and append this list I and make it a dinner item and go grab some HTML for it, same function I used there. And then grab the date for it and say it's this date with X number of people RSVPing. Then we just call some methods inside of the virtual Earth to set the view, because I want to make sure all the pins that came back show up there. Otherwise, I'd be just zoomed in on the US. And then down at the bottom, this is interesting. This is a jQuery selector, CSS selector, that says, for all of those things that have the class dinner item, for each of them, go and fire up this hover event. And the hover is kind of a synthetic event that jQuery creates, where they're basically hooking up mouse enter and mouse leave. So what I'm doing here is I'm hooking up all of those items on the right. So when you hover over them, it shows a bubble, the little info box on the map. So you're kind of linking the two. For each of these items on the right, hook up that bubble on the left. So back over here then, we've loaded the map. Then we need to call nerddinner dot, I think I called it, find most popular dinners. Find most popular dinners. Diners, dinners. All right, and let's see what happens. So this is going to happen on document ready. So this is the default view because it's kind of boring by default. You show up, it's like, hey, the US. Oh, cool. There we go. So see what happened there? So it started up. We had that initial load of the map, and then right after that on document ready, we made a JavaScript call. We did that link query. We returned the JSON. We lined it up, and now I can hover over these and get a nice box there. Isn't that cool? Apparently not. Thank you for that smattering of applause. Appreciate that. That is really special. It's that kind of relationship that we have, you and I, the public. Did you guys hear about the meat grinder? He got a little behind in his work. Hey, you asked for it. If you had clapped, I wouldn't have told that joke. All right. What's that? Rimshot. Actually, what is that? Hang on. Audio guy, get ready. InstantRimshot.com. Thank you. All right. .com. Cool. So one of the things that I've been doing so far is doing all of this work inside of the boring blue look and feel. But the boring blue look and feel is pretty clean. It's nice to be working in MVC because you're using divs and ULs and LIs. This markup was pretty straightforward. So I handed this markup over to a guy named Michael Bach. Michael Bach is one of the marketing guys at Microsoft that did the /web site. So if you go to Microsoft.com/web, turns out he's also a badass designer. So I gave him this markup and said, dude, go and make it pretty without messing up the markup. And he went and did this. So there's my dinners. Oh, there's Australians now. Cool. People are going to hang out in Australia. Rock on. So I got to think about functionality. I got to think about markup in JavaScript, and he went and did this for me. So this got us thinking. We're like, okay, well, if this is all I have to do to make the entire site look awesome, you know, maybe this whole semantic web thing isn't a bunch of crap like I thought. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't think that. No. How can I use this information to profit? File new company, right? I got to figure out a business model that's more than just ads. It's like, you know, how am I going to get the nerds to give me money? Nerds are notoriously cheap people. It's okay for me to say that I'm a nerd, so it's not racist. Quite sure how that works. So what I can do is I can change the way the view engine works. Remember I said earlier about separation of concerns. We're making our own controllers. We've got those views over there. There's a default view engine. When I said return view, somebody had to find that. We talked about how that was a convention. It found details automatically. It went and it looked at the dinner controller, and it looked at the method it was on. It said, oh, he's on dinner controller. He's on the details. He probably wants this view. I can override that functionality. I can take over. So we can go and derive from web form view engine and make ourselves a mobile-capable view engine. So I go and override find view, which passes in enough information for me to make some pretty cool decisions. So I can go and say, hey, is the user agent an iPhone? I don't want you to go into views. I want you to go into views/mobile/iPhone. But I want you to keep going after that. So that means now that I've got /views, and then I can have /mobile, /iPhone, /Pocket PC, Internet Explorer Mobile, whatever, drop in alternative views. Here I've got MS Mobile 6, I've got Pocket IE, and I'm querying these devices to see if they're mobile. Now, mobile in the Microsoft world a couple years ago was a bunch of mobile controls. This was back in the WAP, black and white, kind of tiny Nokia phone days. And it wasn't very much fun because phones were entirely different. And they had these adaptive renderings where it was like, this awesome phone gets a calendar, and this lame phone gets like 7 pages of date pickers, right? And it didn't work, because it didn't make it awesome everywhere. It made it suck everywhere. But now, fast forward a couple of years, and everyone's using XHTML. Most browsers on mobile phones can use XHTML Basic. Now, I don't know if you guys heard, but the guys that are doing Hotmail Mobile just put something out on Codeplex. And this is huge. And I think that this is the kind of huge where no one's going to get how huge it is. They'll be like, oh, yeah, cool, good job. Yeah. This is massive, so believe it. This is the mobile device browser file. It came out today. And this is from data on Hotmail, the top like 500 mobile devices in a giant app browser file that you simply drop in app_browsers on your system. This gives you the capabilities of all of those devices. So then suddenly, mobile is fun again. I can go over here in app browsers where I've dropped that in, open up my mobile browser file, and I can, look at this. Boom. 75,000 lines. So let's go and say, all right, so here's a Nokia 606. And they've done this work for you. Supports MP3, doesn't support WAV, supports PNG. So now I can go and write handlers and stuff to say, well, I'm going to use PNGs for everything, but if supports PNG equals false, maybe I'll take that PNG and then just do a little quick, system.drawing kind of action on it and then return a JPEG. So I can get an awesome experience on every device, and I can start querying these devices for, well, what's the longest URL this device can handle? Or does it support CSS, but most importantly, does it support CSS background color, which a lot of mobile devices don't? Then things start getting interesting. They've done that work for us, and they've made it Microsoft PL, Permissive License, Knock Yourself Out License. Isn't that cool? This is going to make, oh, hey, tell the mobile Hotmail guys, this is huge. This is actually, it's physically huge too. Let's see how big this thing is. This file goes in app browsers, 4.1 megabytes of work that they have done for us. But I don't have to worry about any of that because this plugs into the existing infrastructure. Just by dropping that file in there, I can go and say, is mobile device, and feel good about whether or not it is mobile device. And I'll show you what else I can do. I can ask it questions like, well, let's bring our views in first. Down here, this is what views look like now. We've got home and shared, right? So I'm going to need mobile and the different mobile devices underneath it. I'm going to grab those views from the Stuff folder. And those views are going to go over these views. Inside of them is just the mobile ones. It's going to say, do you want to merge them? And I'm going to hope I'm doing the right thing. Go back over here. Mobile. 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 So now I'm going to detect whether it's a mobile device. I'm going to pick the right view. Let's take a look down here in Shared. This is master pages. Master pages still work on mobile devices. And I'm going to go and bring up that site master. And here, inside of that browser object, by virtue of the fact that I dropped that file in, I can query what's the size of this screen on this device and set the viewport appropriately. So here is just a little mobile site. Much simpler XHTML. So let's do this. Let's fire up the. Don't freak out. Yes, I know. Don't be mean. There's no need for that. I know where everything is. So. Cool? Like that? But wait, that's not all. Dun, 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 dun. I also make julienne fries. That's all JavaScript. Optimized for every device. I've got 6-on-6 versions, mobile versions, I can make Nokia versions, whatever you want. So why is this possible? Why is this possible? It's because MVC lets me control every single byte that comes out of the wire. I have complete control over this. Let's take a look at the nerddinner.com site, which is here. That mobile device browser file. Give me an hour and a half and I'll blog all about it and explain in detail how you can do this. This site right here, let's take a look at this using the W3c Validator. And while I do this, I'll show you an interesting thing that happens when you start looking for lots of different devices. So you might initially think, oh, wow, I can share now. But check this out. XHTML basic. Basic. Why is that? That's not right. So it turns out, this happened last night at 3 in the morning, that the user agent that the W3c uses is now 1.0.606. Well, 606 is a very popular Nokia phone. So I am detecting that this is now the Nokia browser, and I give them the mobile version of the site. So now I can feel good that the mobile version of my site is XHTML1.1. But the neat thing about here is I can go into their validation service, and I believe I can just pass in the information directly, because I want to prove that the site itself is also awesome. Validate by direct input. Now, this is IE8. One of the things a lot of people don't realize about IE8 is you go down to Tools and hit Developer Tools, and there is a bunch of really awesome tools in here that I think are as awesome as Firebug, or in some cases, awesomer. And I can go down here and say Validate. I can say Validate Local HTML, Validate HTML, and it'll take me up there to these places automatically. I'm going to grab the source for this application here. I'm going to drop it in there and check my markup. Boom. So nerddinner.com is XHTML strict. That's not XHTML wimpy. It's XHTML strict. That means that's why it was so easy for my designer to make things work. It's why MVC allowed. MVC just makes it so simple to do this kind of stuff. No byte went out the wire without me knowing about it and feeling that it was going to be okay. I'm going to blog about all of this stuff in detail. And let me think what else. Oh, yeah, the last thing I forgot to show you that the way that I switched that view engine was here in the global ASA. we just fired in the view engine. You can have multiple kinds of view engines, but in this case here I'm just replacing the default view engine by basically clearing it out and dropping mine in. So it's a very simple thing. I did the iPhone version in about 4 hours, and I did the Windows mobile version in about an hour and a half. It's really, really easy. I'm going to continue to work on that. I want to remind you that nerddinner.com is all open source also. I've already received 6 or 7 different patches for cool stuff. It's a learning process as I continue to learn this stuff in public, a lot like Rob Connery has taught us in public using the MVC storefront. I would encourage you to check out